And now I'd like to invite up some students to join me for a conversation this afternoon. Natural Baptiste is a senior at the Brooklyn School for Math and Research. Natural is also a member of the New York City Urban Ambassadors, a college enrichment program facilitated by the New York City Department of Education. The Urban Ambassadors seek to expand the innate socio-emotional and academic capacity of inner-city young men. Please join me in welcoming Natural Baptiste. Maria Velasco is a 17-year-old senior at Arroyo Valley High School. She's been among the top 10 girls in her class for the last 4 years, and she's currently ranked #1 in her graduating class in San Bernardino. Please welcome Maria Velasco. Our next panelist is Jacob Lockhart, a senior at Coeur d'Alene High School in Idaho. Jacob is an avid volunteer in his community. He's also student body president. Please welcome Jacob Lockhart. And please welcome our last student panelist, Lucy Tiblier. Last year, Lucy graduated Anderson High School in Austin, Texas, and she's currently a freshman at Wellesley College. She's also chair of the College Board Advisory Panel on Student Opportunity. Please welcome Lucy. So thank you all for joining me today. I know that you've been able to participate in a number of the plenaries and meetings that have been going on here at Forum, and there have been a lot of conversations about motivation and focus, ensuring students are successful in high school, graduate, go on to college. I'm wondering if we could start off by sharing a little bit about what motivates the four of you. Natural?
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Come on, that was weak. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you. What keeps me motivated to pursue higher education is two things, actually. My family and my peers. To talk about my family, they support me in everything I do. Even taking the time out of my busy schedule to come down to DC or go to New Orleans or Virginia or Florida or wherever I have to go. All they say is be safe, and they're 100% sure that I'm going to get the job done. The second part is my peers, more particularly the Urban Ambassadors program. What can I say about it? It's just that I love it. I love waking up, even though it's Saturdays, I love waking up at 6 o'clock to get to the program by 8 o'clock just to talk about my week to my fellow brothers. And yeah, it can get kind of heated sometimes because we're all guys and we all have different perspectives, but the fact that I have outside family that support me, they sometimes say, oh, why are you doing, what are you doing? And they keep me in line, they keep me in check, and they make sure that I'm on the level that I have to be. So those two things keep me motivated the most.
Great. Maria, can you share a little bit what keeps you motivated?
Definitely. I would say that my mom is a big factor in keeping me motivated to graduate and to go to college. She did not have the opportunity like I did or the support from her family to continue her education. And we kind of see how that affects us financially as a family. So she understands that for me, college is mandatory, and that she just encourages me to leave the place I grew up in and go on to find an education. I would also say that my teachers encouraged me to do the same. A lot of them grew up in the same area, in the same circumstances that I grew up in, and they had the opportunity to get a college education, come back and help the community, and they encourage us to do the same. So I would say overall, my motivation to go to college is so I can come back and help those and support those who supported and encouraged me throughout the entire journey.
That's great. Jacob, share a little bit about what motivates you.
First of all, I'd like to tell you how honored I am to be speaking in front of all of you and how honored I am to be representing Coeur d'Alene School District. The three things that motivate me to do good in school and to further my education are life, family, and community. When I was younger, I was diagnosed with leukemia, so I can speak firsthand on how easily it is to, or how close it is to have your life taken from you. And if you want to experience life, you have to be educated and you have to be able to take all the advantages that you can get. Also, for my community and my family who came together during that hard time in my life, I feel like it's justly deserved that I educate myself so that I can be better for them to help them in the future as well.
So Lucy, you clearly stayed motivated because you're now in college, but I would imagine the pressure has intensified. And how do you find yourself staying focused?
Well, I definitely feel supported by my parents and my family at home. So I think that now I'm in college, I've given myself a chance to step back and reflect on what has helped me get to where I am now. And I think what I've realized is my parents have really dedicated their professional lives to let me go to the college of my choosing. And at this point, I feel almost a duty to honor their gift that they have given to me. And I think it is very important for me to use my time in college well so that I can make them proud, but also really to take full advantage of the resources that they have given me.
You almost make it sound easy. But we know it's not easy, and we know that along with hard work and focus, sometimes there are obstacles put in your way out of your control, and you have to overcome those and stay focused and stay on the journey. Jacob, you alluded to some of those obstacles. Can you talk a little bit more?
Right. As I said, I did have cancer, and that was a huge obstacle. But this may sound cliche, but one of the hardest things was actually fitting in. And that's a hard thing for a lot of people. Now imagine someone who, in essence, their bodies rejected them. So not only do you have to fit in within a community, but you have to fit in with yourself. So that was something that was very hard for me to overcome. But once I did, and I understood that there were peers for me, there was a community, there was my family, my educators, I started to be able to understand that I could be all I could be, and I wanted to pursue that. And those were some things I had to come over, or to get over, to get where I am today.
Naturally, you too, you've had some difficult obstacles to overcome.
I did, and before I start, I don't look for sympathy. I just this is just a little understanding of who I am, and my obstacle was homelessness. When I was younger, 10 years old, I was evicted from my home and placed into a homeless shelter with my mother and my twin brother. And I kind of realized that at 10 years old, you're really naive. You think everything's easy. All you have to do is go to school and go home, do your homework, and just pass all your classes. But then taking external factors into the equation, you realize that it's not as easy as you make it seem. So me going through that, it also motivates me to just make sure that I'm on my grind, I'm making sure that I succeed, because I don't want my kids or my grandkids or any of my great-grandkids to go through what I had to go through, because it's a hard thing to go through and overcome. But now that I overcame it, I feel as though I can conquer anything, and college is just another thing that I just have to overcome.
Well, I think it's so admirable that you were able to take such an obstacle and turn it into drive that propels you forward. And it takes work and practice to continue that approach and that outlook. Lucy, how does the concept of practice play into your life now as a college freshman?
So it actually starts in freshman year in high school. I participated in speech and debate, and the practice of writing speeches and giving them definitely carried into my academic life, where I sincerely found joy in my AP English classes, mostly because I was able to see my progress as my writing got better, as I became more clear and concise. But also, I think there's something really satisfying and so empowering about seeing yourself gain critical analytical skills, because those are skills that I use in the classroom today. I sit in my American novels tutorial and feel very comfortable alongside my junior and senior counterparts to write really clear essays, and I think that has been something where I have seen practice carry over into really all walks of my life.
You make it so exciting. I almost want to go back to college myself. Not quite, but truly. But I love that you found your joy through practice in your classes, and it helps you then choose and direct what you will go on to study and what you will go on to do. I wonder, Maria, you're not yet in college and thinking about colleges. Do you have a sense of what you want to do? And If so, how did you come to that decision?
Most definitely. When I graduate high school and go on college, I want to study neuroscience. And science has always been my favorite subject, but I was never really introduced to that specific subject. But when I was in the 6th grade, my nephew was diagnosed with autism. And at the time, I had no idea what that was or what neuroscience was. But the minute I looked it up, I was just really captivated by the brain and the mind and how everything works and how complex it is. And I was fortunate enough my freshman and sophomore year to participate in the middle years program at my school. It's an honors program that we have. But in order to complete it, the students had to do a 7-month-long research project. And so what I dedicated mine to was music and neuroscience. So for my product, I created classical music that would act as musical therapy for autistic kids. And what I realized was that I really enjoyed those long 7 months. And I realized that I wouldn't mind dedicating the rest of my career to doing scientific research in hopes of bringing about a cure or just new information in general about neurological disorders.
Wow, you all seem like so self-directed, absolutely. It's interesting, when we were sitting yesterday and listening to Mrs. Powell speak, and she spoke about the 5 promises that are the cornerstone of her work at America's Promise, I was really struck by the notion of that one adult, of that one person in your life that consistently drives you, and the importance of that in your success. And it had me thinking about the one adult in my life or whose life I could be that in. And so I wonder if, while she was speaking natural, did the idea of that one adult resonate with you?
Of course, and as soon as she uttered those words, I immediately thought of my uncle. Well, he recently passed. Herman Bagley was, I guess, a man of many talents. He was confident. He was able to walk into any situation he was in and just take over the floor and just dominate anywhere. And I admired him, I looked up to him, and he was one of besides my father, the only real men that actually took the time and just was concerned about me. And going through the shelter, he was there, he was always there, even if I was annoying at times, just always bothering him. I was always asking him questions, and he was never was upset that I was asking questions. He always told me that education was the key to success. And I live by those words daily. And along with going through everything, he's the one thing that was remained constant and is still constant to this day.
That's fantastic. How about you, Maria? When Mrs. Powell was talking, did you have a sense of that one adult in your life?
I definitely did. The person that came to mind was my AP coordinator, Mr. Hidalgo. I was fortunate enough to have him as a teacher last year for AP United States History. And history has never been my favorite subject. I've never really been interested in it. But he was just so passionate about what he teaches, and he made class so interesting and so engaging. And I think it's very rare to find teachers that teach for the right reasons, because they want their students to learn and they want their students to succeed. And something really important that he taught me is that the point of school is to learn. I think we get so caught up in grades and GPAs and ranks, but he taught me that the most important thing is to learn and to make sure you keep learning.
That's great. Jacob, who was the one adult for you?
Well, almost automatically, my former doctor, Dr. Reynolds, came to mind. And he taught me perhaps one of the greatest lessons that I still hold valuable today. It was my first initial meeting with him before my diagnosis that I did have cancer, and he's talking at a joint meeting with me and my parents. And all the while, this nurse keeps coming in, she keeps popping in saying, well, doctor, have you asked them about their financial, how are they gonna pay for this? What's their money aspect? How are we gonna see the profit on this? And the Dr. Reynolds looks at her and he says, nurse, if you come in here and ask me one more time how these people are going to pay for their child to get better, I'll have you fired. And that resonated with me because it taught me for the first time that I was something more than just a number. I wasn't a numeric, I was a person. And I think that that's something we have to take into account of every single person that we meet, that they are people and they have their own aspirations. And I follow that greatly every day of my life.
Well, thank goodness for Dr. Reynolds. How about you, Lucy? What were you thinking of when she talked about that one adult in your life?
I was thinking of my father because throughout my entire life, I have seen him work tirelessly and in my eyes, almost beautifully give back to his community. He serves as a physician, and I strive to one day give back and make a difference in the same way that my father has. But more, I think more importantly, in my life anyway, I've also watched him be the most hardworking person in my life and in my experience. And his work is tireless. He works such long hours, and at first it was hard for me to sort of understand that he was working for our benefit, because obviously I wanted to hang out with my father. But now that I'm in college, I see his sacrifice and I see the gift that he has given my family. I can go to the college of my choosing because of my father's sacrifice and honor that he has given us, and that is something that I want to carry with me for the rest of my life, and I'm really so grateful to my father.
I think we're going to have to send him a copy of this. So I love that one of your people was from AP, and collectively, I think we have about 20 AP courses just among the four of you, which is a pretty amazing amount of rigorous coursework. What made you take AP?
Well, besides the fact that my principal enrolled me in the class, I mean, I easily could have just said no. I easily could have said, you know what, it's too much work for me. I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna focus on my basic high school courses. But then I realized that a lot of kids in my neighborhood, in my district, fight for AP. They realize that, I'm not able to take AP. And if you are able to, just take it. So what's the point of, if you can get college credit, if you can pay less money to college, why not take any opportunity that you can? And I realized that, I was like, wait, whoa, I had people tell me that. I was telling people, I was like, I got offered AP, I'm not gonna take it. They was like, what? What are you doing? What is wrong with you? And I realized that now, taking AP, I took AP Statistics last year, and I received a 5 on the exam, and I'm taking, thank you. And I'm taking AP Bio this year, hope to get a 5, and yeah, hope to. I don't know. Didn't take the test yet, so I gotta hope to. And also, in all honesty, just represent those who can't take the exam in my neighborhood. So that's why I'm really excited for AP and taking AP.
I love that. I love that you're representing in your AP classroom. It's fantastic. What about you, Maria? What drove you to take as many APs as you have, which is quite a significant number, 8?
Yeah, in total by the end of this year. So I think the primary reason why I chose to do AP classes was because I wanted to challenge myself. I knew if I didn't go through with the AP program at my school, I wouldn't advance academically. And I think that the AP tests are so much more than just standardized multiple choice tests. They require you to think critically and analytically. And these skills that you learn in the classroom, you're going to be able to go and take them to college and even after you're done with your education. And my AP teachers also played a big factor in me joining AP, because from upperclassmen I had heard that one thing that all of the AP teachers at my school have in common is that they're all very passionate about what they teach. And as I said earlier, it's very rare to find those kinds of teachers. And I definitely learned that as I went into these 8 AP classes.
Jacob, what drove you to take your AP classes?
Very similar to Maria's story is I didn't want to be sitting in a classroom bored by an easy class that I knew I could easily pass. I actually wanted to challenge myself and further my education that way. So I took, and this was probably foolish at the time, I took AP Chemistry. The first time I'd ever taken a chemistry class. I didn't even know what that is. That's a long time up at night trying to figure out what's going on with those atoms. And I took those, and in fact, I love AP so much that I've decided to take 4 more AP classes this year, and I will be pursuing those for many more long nights.
So Lucy, having been through it, I wonder, was making the choice worth it?
It was so worth it. It was one of the best choices that I think I made in high school entirely. So I am pretty nerdy. My favorite part about a class is when I get to mull over the topics after the school day has ended. And so I was offered that chance in AP. I remember in my AP English class, there was this one tricky problem on the multiple choice section where we were trying to decide what literary device was appropriate. And my class was so stuck on one answer. And so we spent, I think, the entire class just talking about the other literary device and why it was the appropriate answer. But what that example taught me was even after the class was over, I was still thinking and pondering the literature and the way that literary devices function in a text. And so I wanted to pursue that. And then in college, that skill is really important. I mean, the level of college is so much higher than high school. And so you have to be really obsessed with learning, and you have to want to learn when you're in college. And AP teaches you those skills. AP teaches you to appreciate education for what it is, and it gives you the confidence to do well and to seek your goals.
So the four of you have a very unique opportunity this afternoon, and it's actually not sitting up here on this panel. It's having this captive audience here in this room in front of you, because you get to represent your peers and yourselves and give them some advice. So I want you to take a moment before we close today and share with the educators here today from higher ed, from high schools, a piece of advice that you want them to take with them as they go back to their work in supporting students. What do you have to say to them?
Before I start, I'm just really honored to be here. I know I'm missing school, but it's just an honor to be in a room full of esteemed educators. And if you guys forget anything that we talked about earlier, please remember these four opinions, about to be 5 because I'm gonna have 2. So the first thing is that numbers do not tell the whole story. And, okay. All right. But numbers don't tell the whole story, because you can't say a student will succeed based on his or her SAT scores or his or her GPA or rank or just any numerical value that you associate a student with. You can't say a student will succeed. A 2.0 GPA in a high school that doesn't have a lot of resources, you can't say, oh, that student will fail or that student will drop out just because of their average or just because of the GPA. You have to look at the student holistically and actually take in consideration outside factors like extracurriculars, outside factors like the personal statement, and just teacher recommendations, all the other things that matter. Yes, test scores and GPA should have a factor, but it shouldn't be the determining factor to determine if a student will succeed. Sorry, I'm gonna have 2. The second one is that there are a lot of students in this nation that have high GPAs and can excel in college, but they come from low income backgrounds. So I am a student, I fit that profile perfectly. I have a 4.0, but my family makes $50,000 a year. And it's me and my twin brother. So it's like, how are they gonna pay for us to go and further our knowledge? And I have a question for you guys. It's a rhetoric. Why is the price of college going up, but the money allocated to pay for it is going down? And I understand it's not gonna take a day. I understand not a year, maybe not even 5 years, maybe it's like 20 years from now. But please, I want my kids not to have to worry about furthering their education. I don't want my kids to worry about getting a degree to get a job. They can't get a degree if they can't go to college. So we have to make college more accessible to everybody.
So is there anyone here in particular who's going to be seeing the whole natural picture? You're going to be sending applications soon?
Of course. Almost everybody in this room, I will. But if you want to hear names, particularly Vanderbilt, call me. See, that guy gets it. He gets it. Yeah, that's it.
Maria, do you want to leave these folks with some parting advice?
No, yeah, I completely agree with Natural. I think there are so many under-resourced kids, such as some of these on the panel. I think they have like dreams and aspirations of going to the top universities in this country, but their options are kind of limited because, like you said, they may not have the highest GPA or the highest test scores because they don't have the resources to do so. But I think it's important to understand the context of it all, and that despite these economic barriers that they faced, they were able to succeed in high school, and I think that they can bring that same determination and dedication to college.
So, well, we might as well continue with the calling out. Who's going to be getting your application?
I have my eyes set on Stanford.
Jacob, I know you're going to speak your mind and tell us what these folks need to know.
Well, yes. If there's one thing you remember at all from me, it's to understand that speaking from a student's perspective, that there is no such thing as a cookie cutter classroom, and that every person is different, everyone has their own individual aspirations and goals. So if you're going to provide education, you need to somehow tailor it to their aspirations and their goals. Because no student wants to be involved with something that doesn't have anything to do with them. It has to relate to them for them to be involved and want to actually do it. So if, let's say, someone wants to be a doctor or something and you're teaching linguistics, you need to teach them how to converse with someone or how to write things or how to do something that relates directly to the medical field. And that will make them feel involved. That will make them feel like you're actually taking time to teach them something specifically tailored to themselves. And once people start to feel more involved, they're going to start to like seeing what education can do for them. They're going to start doing better in education. They're going to start to do better with everything that they do. And they're going to want to pursue higher education because they know it's for them and they can actually do it. So that's what we need to do to provide proper education for everyone in America.
And so where are you planning on pursuing your higher education?
University of Washington will be the first one to get my application. And anyone in this room who values people's individuality and their own aspirations, you will be sure to get one of my applications as well.
So Lucy, what's your advice for the folks here today?
So I have benefited from an approach to education that from my perspective and my experience, is a little bit unique. When I was in middle school, my science teacher told us almost every day that we need to have a passion for learning for the sake of learning. And if we invest all of our energy in becoming so engrossed in the learning process, that will carry through and make us more successful and more engaged learner than if we pursue grades exclusively. And I say this because in my high school, I felt as though I was one of a few students who approached education with optimism and education as a way to just learn more and not just to get the grades, which the grades are important, but my science teacher always told us that if we work hard and if we're passionate, the grades will follow. And I think I'm observant of a pretty hyper-competitive society that we live in now, and so I would just like to invite all of you to remind students that their purpose in high school and college is to learn and soak up as much as possible, because learning, as we all agree, is so beautiful, and that shouldn't get lost in the pursuit of grades or test scores. So
That's great.